Welcome back to the Learner's Lounge, the podcast where we help high schoolers connect with college alumni and current students from prestigious universities. For today's episode, we have three graduate students from New York University. Can you please briefly introduce yourself, including your name, major, and your education journey?
Okay, so I'll go first. So I'm Dev. I did my undergrad in India. I was in BITS, and then I went to NYU for my master's, and now I'm joining a PhD program at NYU as well.
My name is Yixiang. I did my undergrad at NYU with a major in mathematics and economics. I did 2 master's degree at NYU, one in math and finance, and the other was quantitative economics with Dev and Yifan. And I'm an incoming PhD student in Northwestern.
My name's Yifan. I went to NYU STERM for double concentrations in finance and quantitative economics. And I went to a master's degree at NYU for quantitative economics as well. And I'm going to Northwestern Kellogg for a pre-doc with the finance and strategy department.
Okay, that's amazing. I think it's so amazing that all of you got into such prestigious universities and are going to be studying there. So what advice would you give to high schoolers who are trying to decide on a college major or a career path?
That's big. I honestly think like college majors don't make that much of a difference. Like unless like you're going into like something super deep like econ or something, like there it really matters, like you're doing math super early on and stuff. But I think like most corporate jobs are probably not that demanding in terms of majors. Like, yeah, I think like computer science is probably like a safe bet, or math is like a safe bet. Like it allows you to go into a lot of things, even unrelated, I think. So I would think computer science, math are good bets. Yeah.
Yeah, I would agree with Dev, and especially if you're if the college or university that you get in allows you to change your major later on, you can always choose like majors like math or computer science at the beginning. So in the first 1 or 2 years, because the skills are just so transferable to all the engineering majors, and also in social science nowadays. So it will be a very safe bet to do a little math in the first year at least. So if your school allows you to decide to decide your major later on, it's always a good idea to take the first year just to explore, just talk to people, and just to know those seniors and juniors in the university. Yeah.
I agree with the previous comments. I think it's absolutely a challenge for high school students to decide what they want to focus on for 4 years before they actually join college. I've seen a lot of examples where, let's say someone wants to study international relations, but after he gets into college, he takes some classes in math and takes some classes in physics, and he realizes that, okay, probably, natural sciences is what I want to do. So I've seen people actually, transfer to different areas of disciplines, compared to what they decided to major on before college. So I would definitely think, taking some time, maybe a year, your freshman year to explore, different areas before you really want to, decide what areas to focus on for the rest of your college career.
Yeah, I think Yifan's right. Like, I think we have very little idea of what's going to happen in college. Like, even if, you think you know what's you're taking, like, I think going to college and studying it is a very different experience from what you thought it would be.
What Dev is saying is that you might realize that what you thought was cool turns out to have something cooler as an option in your university.
Yeah. Basically, yeah, you go there and you figure out far more things than you thought you knew. Like you think you like math or whatever going in, and then you go and do math and you realize like you actually don't like math as much as you maybe like, I don't know, something else, physics or something.
All right, that's really helpful. So since I will be choosing computer science as my major in college, that's really reassuring to hear. So that, like, that's a safe bet. So can you please talk about your extracurricular activities you participated in high school, and how has it helped you in your admission in NYU?
So I
High
think
school
you
and
guys should
college.
probably
So
answer.
yeah.
Yeah. You guys should probably take this. I think like for me, like I did a bunch of extracurriculars in college, but that didn't really affect my college admissions. College admissions in India are pretty straightforward. You write a test, and based on how you do in the test, you get into the college. So I mean, for me, they didn't really make a difference in my admission bids. But yeah, maybe you guys have different views.
Okay, so from my case, it's a little different because I transferred to NYU from another university in Texas. And so what I did was that so transfer application is quite different from like high school application. So they expect you to know much more than high school students, and they expect you to explain what you want to study and what you want to get out of NYU. And so for my case, I did a thorough research on what are the strengths of NYU and what I want to do and what I want to learn out of it. And to plan for the application, I took a bunch of mathematics courses, including the one that's usually taken from by seniors, and just to show the passion and show that this is really what I want to do. And NYU has a great math department that can support me. So just to try to so for transfer application, you really need to show that you're transferring for a reason, and rather than just want to like rather than just want to switch, they expect you to know a little bit more. But I suppose that's the high school application should be very different, right, Yifan?
Right. So you know there are so many successful and relatively less successful application examples. So it's very difficult to say like a universal law, for applying successfully to either U.S. colleges or colleges worldwide. But one thing I have seen, like probably from myself and from friends around me, or from other people, is that you probably need a pretty consistent application case. So let's say your concentration for the application is with international relations. I'm using international relations as an example again. So in your application, there should be some pieces of evidence to show that you're actually a let's say not a scholar, but at least you have shown some potential interest in international relations, right? Probably with your extracurricular activities, as we're talking about, like probably you were an avid debater, right? Like you participated, let's say in public forum debates, or you participated in parliament debates where you discuss international relations, you discuss the economic reforms, different policies. So those are pieces of evidence to show that you're probably interested in international relations. You can say, okay, I want to study international relations in my personal statement, while I have no evidence anywhere else to show that, okay, I am probably interested in. Or you say, okay, I want to study mathematics, I'm going to be a mathematical scholar, but you have never done any mathematical competition, or you scored C's in your high school exams for math, and those are pretty bad signals for applying with mathematics in colleges. So I would say, like, try to find a consistent story with your application. When you make an assertion that you want to concentrate on something, that you're interested in something, there has to be some consistent evidence to show that you're actually interested or you are potentially going to be successful in this discipline. Yeah.
Yeah, I think as you said, there's really no universal law for applying. So that's why a lot of college students are really confused about what activities they should be doing, what they should not be doing. So that was really insightful. So what is the campus culture like at NYU, and are there any particular traditions or events that define student experience there?
This is yours.
So-
I have no idea. Yeah.
So I would say the university per se is quite diverse, although like all of us are squeezed in just a few blocks in Lower Manhattan, but it's actually it's a quite diverse campus, and there's no unified tradition because like schools fight among each other. I mean, there are some like dirty jokes and like one school trashes the others, but so I would say like I wouldn't say there is a unified tradition at school per se, but it's a quite inclusive environment, and you can fit in like any network that you can imagine of. So if you're bookish, you can go to a network that's full of nerds, and you can read books, and you can hang out in like Greenwich Village, and you can. So if you're into movies or films, you can talk to those art students. And if you like, so you can find everything that you like, and there's quite a lot of liberty, and it's a quite inclusive environment. So if I want to, if I have to say, like, if there is a tradition of the university, the tradition is that whatever you do and whatever people, whoever you hang out with, it has to be cool. So it has to be personal. So it has to show your personality and try to show something that you are different from each other. And I think that's what the NYU kids are trying to striving for. So they try to be unique and try to be cool.
I think
definitely
what
agree.
you said is like true for like New York, like rather than like just the school. I think like it's just true for New York in general. You know? Like super inclusive, like as a city also.
Yeah, so it's actually too inclusive. I mean, you don't even like find a boundary. So I know some students who are into jazz, and they just hang out with the bands, and they regularly like meet and go to like places to listen to jazz. And there are some like musical people, like they go to Broadway, and which I think is boring, but you can find your own gang, but it has to be like you have to like it, and you have to show the other people that you're unique, and maybe sometimes too much. Maybe you're showing off too much, but that's the tradition of NYU.
Right. I guess I can give a little bit different perspective on this, because I went to the business school, and unfortunately I have to say NYU Stern is kind of exclusive in its own way. Like the benefit is, you know, the students at Stern are very proud, and they're pretty confident in a way, but it's kind of bad in a way that they're not willing to interact with people outside the school in some sense. But just to give you a kind of, you know, sense about the environment at NYU Stern, like I would say everything is pretty businessy, as you can imagine at a business school. Like there are lots of, you know, networking events. There are lots of professional clubs. You can join clubs, you know, related to finance, to quantitative finance, or if you're interested in marketing, you know, there are marketing clubs out there, and there are also, you know, consulting clubs. So pretty much all the areas, all the disciplines in finance are covered in the forms of clubs at NYU Stern. So, you know, you can get a taste of, you know, what potential work that you're going to experience in the future when you actually get into the workplace. So that's good. And I would say the professors, they're pretty accommodating in some sense. Like when you're in, you know, during the interview seasons, you know, you're pretty busy with classes, exams, and interviews, and you're so crammed up with everything. Like you can actually talk to professors. Like they're very friendly people. You can ask for you absolutely can ask for extensions. You can go to extra office hours. Well, I've done all those before. So yeah, I think in general I enjoyed my time at NYU start. So
Yeah, but certain people don't do like skateboarding, which is a big tradition in Washington Square Park of our campus.
we probably don't do anything other than going to coffee chats or going to networking events. That's all we talk about every day. Like, oh, I heard you had an interview last week. How was it? It's all right. Three analysts. Don't know what they're talking about. I just try to get through it. Yeah, things like that. That's all we talk about all the time.
So that's amazing to hear that all of you, in NYU, like talk to your professors, and it's an amazing culture there. So my question to you is, what's the most interesting class or professor you've encountered at NYU?
Sorry, I was cut off a little bit. What was the question?
What's the most
My
interesting
question
class you
was,
did? Yeah. Go for it.
yeah, that all the professors you encountered at NYU.
You guys want to start first?
Wait. So the question is the most interesting class or interesting professor? Is that the question?
Answer both.
Okay, so I mean, yeah, Dev, do you want to start or?
Okay. So for me, like I'll only talk about grad courses because I have no idea about the undergrad courses.
Yeah,
I think
that doesn't count.
Yeah. So for person, I think it'll have to be Ariel. Like Ariel, definitely like the most interesting person. Class will probably be, I think Yada's class was probably one of the most fun classes we did. Like it was like a finance econ class, but a lot of cool stuff. I think Yada's class probably. Yeah.
So I would point to an example of I mean there are a bunch of interesting classes, but I guess the most representative one is the undergrad financial economics class in the College of Arts and Science department. So the professor was against some of the mainstream economics thinking, and nobody. I mean, so to be honest, like mainstream economists don't interact with that professor that much, and he's kind of like arguing his own way. But the point is that he's so brave, and he fights against those rational expectation like school of thinking so well, and so that's like students can learn a whole bunch of the history of economic thoughts out of that. And he pushes us to read Bloomberg market raps every day. So he really wants us to get our own thinking and like to fight against like thinkings that the people in this profession are throwing to us. I would say that's the most interesting class, but probably not the most useful class to apply into grad school. But it's a fun class. Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, we have three future economists here. I really want to talk about an economics class. I was hoping that Yixiang would talk about something else, but he also talk about a financial economics class. So, to give you different perspectives, I'm going to talk about a non-economics class that I took during my freshman year. So at NYU, back then, there was a freshman program called first year seminars, I think. I don't know if that still exists now, but back then for the topic of the seminar, I chose like the frontiers of the climate change, something like that. And Professor Needham taught that class where we discussed, the climate sciences, including, the geology, the meteorology, like all kinds of stuff associated with climate change. We also, did presentations like probably like 3 times or 4 times throughout the semester, where I had no idea what I talked about, but I still had those four presentations. We had pretty enthusiastic debates and discussions every class, I think. While most of the time, we're kind of just arguing with each other while we don't have really solid evidence. But yeah, it was a pretty fun class. I think the purpose of the class was kind of just to help you be creative with your arguments in some sense, what topics you're encountering. I think that was the main goal of that class. And there are many other similar classes that are structured at NYU. They're not in climate sciences, but they're in literature, they're in religion, and psychology, and etc. So if you're at NYU, you're going to have billions of opportunities, to take all kinds of classes that you're willing to try.
Okay, yeah, I think it
Yeah,
must
yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, go ahead.
no, go ahead.
So I can probably add one more to what Yifan was talking about. So I mean, as a student at NYU, you have to take one courses out of 5 topics. So the one that I chose was called Global Asia, and so it was taught by a former department chair of the NYU History Department. And that old man was like very aggressive in the sense that he fights against the Western standards, even though he's a white man. And he was arguing the role of Asia in promoting globalization during the Middle Age. So like he was emphasizing the importance of Mongolian Empire and stuff. So it was quite interesting to hear that kind of voice in a city like New York, where considered as the center of the U.S. And there are someone who are arguing those academic views that may not meet with the Western standard at NYU, and that's pretty common. And I guess the school is just like those kind of scholars, and it was very interesting. And I wrote an essay about the importance of India's banking system during the globalization age of like around 1500 and 1600. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it must be really fun to learn from such interesting and diverse professors there. So what are some of the best hangout or study spots in and around campus, and how has living in New York influenced your personal and academic growth?
So I think
I'm
both
sorry,
is great.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead. I didn't hear the question.
So she was asking like about the study spots around NYU, and like where do we study, and like how New York's influenced us. So that kind of thing. So I think like Popes is obviously great. Popes is like the library. It's close to both like the finance, it's right next to Stern, and it's also close to like the math department. So I definitely spent a lot of time. We actually didn't spend that much time in both last year, no. We actually spent more time in GSAS probably. So GSAS has this one meeting room where we would all crash, like we would all end up in the meeting room in the GSAS building. GSAS in the arts and science department. So yeah. And I mean, generally, I think like you can find empty rooms wherever, and you can just sit there and work with people until somebody comes and kicks you out. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Dev. And Bob's library is definitely the most important like place that we hang out and do homework and collect ideas. But I just want to emphasize that there are also a lot of great options outside of campus, like coffee shops, like everywhere. Like so one example would be Think Coffee. It's a coffee shop that's right across to the math department at NYU, and there are sofa and nice chairs, and a lot of professors would meet there and meet their friends and visitors, like meet those visiting professors there. And I would say the environment is quite vibrant, that you can hang out everywhere around the campus, and there are quite a lot of interesting places that you can go. But yes, Bob's library is the most important place, and NYU invested a lot to the library and to buy the most expensive chair on the planet, and it's quite comfortable, right?
Right. I don't really have a preference towards where to study. I guess depending on the classes, because some classes are structured in a form of, let's say, cooperation with our classmates, and when we have a group project, like, we tend to work at large meeting rooms, and those meeting rooms are usually at Bob's, absolutely, and or sometimes we just find a random room at a school building, right? Like, for example, at Stern, there is a pretty big conference room on the 7th floor at the econ department, and sometimes the room at the building are just empty. Like, you can absolutely just go in there and work with your classmates, or if you want to work alone, that's also fine. And as Yixiang was saying, like, sometimes we walk out of campus. Like, we could probably go to a dessert place and order a cake, order a coffee, and then we just sit there, work on our laptop for the entire afternoon. So yeah, there are lots of options. Like, when you're in New York, you're always gonna feel like, okay, I'm surrounded with so many options, and eventually you're gonna find one that suits you the best. So
Yeah, I think an environment like New York would probably make even the harder classes easier to get through. So, okay, thank you so much, everyone, for being here today. We definitely learned a lot. I'm sure everyone watching this did as well.
thank you for having us.
And for
Yeah, thanks a lot for having us. Yeah.
And for everyone watching, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast, leave us a comment, and follow us on Instagram at @learnersloungegps. Stay updated on future episodes. Until next time, take care and keep learning.